Hello and welcome to the TIPBS podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kay Eyre. In today's episode, we answer a commonly asked question about trauma-informed practice in schools. What is childhood trauma? A traumatic event is an incident that causes physical, emotional, spiritual, or psychological harm. The person experiencing the distressing event may feel threatened, anxious, or frightened as a result. The term childhood trauma describes the problem of children's exposure to multiple or prolonged traumatic events and the impact of this exposure on their development. Typically, complex trauma exposure involves the simultaneous or sequential occurrence of child maltreatment, including psychological maltreatment, neglect, physical and sexual abuse, and domestic violence. That is chronic, begins in early childhood and occurs within the primary caregiving system. Experiences of elevated, prolonged stress or trauma rock the very core of children and young people. In these circumstances, children are overwhelmed with the internal reactions that race through their brains and bodies. They do anything to survive, not because they want to, but because they need to. They shut down their feelings. They push away memories of pain. They stop relying on relationships around them to protect them. They stop trusting and believing in others. Even after the stressful or traumatic situation has passed, children's brains and bodies continue to react as if the stress is continuing. They become self-protective. They spend a lot of their energy scanning the environment for threat. Their bodies act as if they are in a constant state of alarm. Their brains are endlessly vigilant. Traumatized and stressed children and young people have little space left for learning. Their constant state of tension and arousal can leave them unable to concentrate, pay attention, retain, or recall new information. Their behaviour is often challenging in the school environment. They struggle to make positive peer relationships. The consequences of trauma on children and young people are multiple, yet they're not well understood. These children are often labelled as disruptive, defiant and poor learners at high risk of disconnecting from school. With support, children and young people can and do recover from the harmful effects of trauma. To do so, however, they need adults in their lives to be understanding of and responsive to their unique needs. They cannot easily adapt and change to their environment. Their environment and the people in it must adjust to help them. These children and young people need the space to learn to be created for them by those who care and support them. In the last decade, there has been an explosion of research about the inner workings and connections between the brain and the body. The knowledge base about neurobiology, relationships and trauma has begun to revolutionise the way we understand traumatised children's behaviour, their abilities, and the impact of their past on their capacity to learn and relate to others. To learn more about the Trauma-Informed Positive Behaviour Support Program, please visit www.tipbs.com. If you are enjoying listening to our podcast, please rate and review it on iTunes. Your ratings make all the difference. Thank you for listening. See you next time.